to give us what we need. Hey!
I listen to KBLA and I love the commercials. I know what the commercials mean. I also, if I'm looking and trying to figure something out, I need something to talk to me that might hit me. And it happens on TV because, you know, every time they show a sporting event, they got the pharmaceutical companies back to back telling people how to fix the sickness on the same stuff that they sell them. So we get it.
Yep, we get it too, Chuck D. And that's why at KBLA Talk 1580, we don't black down.
Drop it! Our freedom of speech is freedom of death. We got to fight the powers that be. Fight the power! Fight the power! Fight the power!
The blackness. Keep on. Never say die. Keep on. Blackness. Keep on. Never say die. Keep on.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai, your host and chief White House correspondent. I'm in touch, and so you be in touch. Y'all know where to find me. Just go to Dr. Nii-Quartelai, Dr. Nii-Q, DRNIIQ, and there I am, fresh for you to follow. Also, be sure to download the KBLA app to listen to us live or on demand, or simply tell Alexa to play KBLA Talk 1580. And there we are. For your listening pleasure. Last but not least, subscribe to A More Perfect Union podcast. That way you won't miss an episode. Now, look, every day is a special day, but given that this show is called A More Perfect Union, it's pretty safe to say that we are far from perfect. We are imperfect union, but we have become more perfect over time. Because more of us have gained rights over time. And so today I want to celebrate our fellow Americans, the women among us who are doing their best in so many different ways to shape the culture and help to make this a more perfect union, especially on today where we celebrate the ratification of the 19th Amendment. Yes. On this day, over 100 years ago, the 19th Amendment was ratified, giving women the right to vote. We will continue to keep fighting for equity at the ballot box and to protect the sacred right to vote, a right that is under attack. I talked about it quite a bit with our first hour guest, former White House fellow William Godwin. And in just a little bit, you will hear Spike Lee give his take on current events. But right now, it's time for your national news roundup. It's time for you to decide the good, bad, and ugly headlines of the day. Kicking us off, goodbye, MSNBC. Hello, MS Now. The New York Times reporting that for 3 decades, news and progressive opinions on the cable dial has been defined by 5 capital letters, MSNBC. Now, by the end of this year, a couple of those letters are changing. As a part of their corporate spinoff from Comcast, MSNBC is changing its name to My Source News Opinion World, or MS Now for short. The name is meant to reflect the channel's mission to provide breaking news and best-in-class opinion journalism. That's at least according to MSNBC's new president, Rebecca Cutler. She put this out in a memo earlier today. Most of cable channels that were part of Comcast, NBC Universal's TV empire, they're being spun off this year into a new company called Versant. The spinoff will require the new company to stop using the NBC brand and its signature Peacock, which are both staying with Comcast. And we'll be watching. We'll be watching. That's all. It's all the logo. The logo reminded me of Substack, so I'm keeping it real, right? But I think whenever anybody is launching a startup, anything, I think it's an exciting time. It's an exciting time for what we've all known as MSNBC to begin to reinvent itself, and to add pressure to that, reinvent yourself and meet the moment all at the same time. And so all I can say is we'll be watching. In other news, NBC News is reporting that hundreds of thousands of protests are happening, protests against the Gaza war, as frustration grows in Israel about this new offensive in the plaza that Israelis have christened Hostage Square. Hundreds of thousands of people, they banged drums, they shouted slogans, they booed mentions of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and others in his right-wing government. Some even held pictures of those still in captivity in Gaza, while others vented their frustration over plans for a new military offensive in some of the enclave's most populated areas that many Israelis fear could further endanger the lives of the remaining hostages, 20 to 50 of whom are believed to be alive. Among the demonstrators on Sunday's protest was Ruby Chen, who was the father of Itay Chen, an Israeli-American soldier who was among the 1,200 killed in the Hamas-led terrorist attack on October 7, 2023, and whose body remains in Gaza. Chen said to the folks over at NBC News, quotes, "The Jewish Bible speaks about the Jewish life. Life comes before revenge. And that is exactly what we're asking for this government to remember." The protest in Tel Aviv on Sunday was one of dozens organized nationwide, including outside of politicians' homes, at military headquarters, and on major highways. Demonstrators blocked these lanes and they lit bonfires. Some restaurants and theaters closed in solidarity. Police said they arrested 38 people. And so I know we're not seeing nearly enough protests that are happening on the ground in Israel. But we wanted to make sure that we do our part to inform people that there are folks on the ground in Israel that don't agree with what the government's doing. Just as there are people on the ground here in the United States that don't agree with what the government's doing. So don't always think that just because a government is acting in the name of the people that they represent, that they're actually representing those people. In other news, NBC Sports is reporting that Spike Lee's ESPN documentary on Colin Kaepernick will not proceed. ESPN Films had commissioned Spike Lee to create an 8-part documentary regarding the former NFL quarterback, Colin Kaepernick, and the series won't be released. Both ESPN and Lee said on Saturday the docuseries is dead. In fact, ESPN said in a statement that Colin Kaepernick and Spike Lee have collectively decided to no longer proceed with this project as a result of certain creative differences. Spike Lee told Reuters.com on Friday that the plug had been pulled on the project. Well, should we blame it on DEI? Should we blame it on folks not wanting to catch any smoke from 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue? Does this mean ESPN is shook? When we come forward, take a listen to what the legendary film director Spike Lee had to tell me about his new film and his reaction to some current events that are on my mind and my heart, his mind, his heart, and I'm sure your mind and your heart. You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. When we come forward, the legendary Spike Lee.
You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
The following is a paid advertisement by Family Vacation Getaways with the purpose of soliciting sales of vacation ownership. For complete details, please visit fvgradio.com. If you want a 100% complimentary stay at a luxury resort in Cancun, airfare not included, then Family Vacation Getaways is your ticket to paradise. See website for complete details. We're giving away 5 days and 4 nights to the first 50 callers who can name an animal that lays eggs and is not a bird. An animal that lays eggs and is not a bird. Do you know it? Call now, 800-868-6431, 800-868-6431. You're also eligible for an exciting bonus vacation to Orlando, Florida for just $498. And don't worry about anything ruining your plans. We can extend your travel up to 18 months. Name an animal that lays eggs and is not a bird, and get a complimentary Cancun resort stay and an optional bonus vacation to Orlando for just $498. What are you waiting for? Call 800-868-6431, 800-868-6431, and give us your answer. The proceeding is not a contest and is a paid advertisement by Family Vacation Getaways and not sponsored by this program or its affiliates.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Worried about eviction? You have Wright, and Stay Housed LA can help. Stay Housed LA is a partnership between LA County, the City of Los Angeles, and local service providers. From Lancaster to Long Beach, we're here to help you with tenant education workshops, legal clinics, free legal services for eligible tenants, and online resources about tenant protection laws. Don't face eviction alone. Call our hotline at 1-888-694-0040. That's 1-888-694-0040.
Harriet Tubman was
keeping Los Angeles residents in their homes. Stay Housed LA. Your rights, your home, our community. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
We have no permanent friends or permanent enemies. Only permanent interests. As we effort to build a more perfect union.
Let's go.
You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Corte, and honored to be in conversation with living legend Spike Lee.
The honor is mine.
I really appreciate that.
What's your doctorate in?
Education.
Where'd you get that from?
Pepperdine University, where I also teach.
Ooh, all right. Are you tenured yet?
Am I what?
Tenured.
Not yet.
Come on, let's get that tenure so they can't fire you.
Well, maybe if
I'm a tenured professional film NYU graduate film school, so they can't fire me.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, look, when you're in LA, you have an open invitation to come talk to my students at Pepperdine.
Pepperdine's a great school.
It is. It's a great school, and we're here talking about another great film to add to your body of work, Highest to Lowest. It's your new film starring Denzel Washington, which releases nationwide August 15th. How you feeling? How you feeling about this one?
Great. Today's the day where, is Denzel Washington, his powers unleashed on the world. September 15th on Apple Plus. But I really want people to see the film in the theaters, please.
And so for folks who are less familiar, as I understand it, it's a film about a powerful music mogul who's targeted by a ransom plot. He's forced to fight for his family and legacy while jammed up in a life or death moral dilemma. Is this art imitating life imitating art? I think we're seeing a lot of moral dilemmas in the news these days. Talk to us about what makes this film a unique addition to your body of work.
Well, first, we have to give a shout out to the great Japanese filmmaker, Akira Kurosawa, who made a film called High and Low, which was based upon a novel by American novelist Ed McBain. The novel was called King's Ransom. So from the very beginning, when Denzel asked me to do this, I knew that my approach would be not a remake, but reinterpretation of the novel and also the great film made by Kurosawa. And I came to me like in a flash, that we were going to be great jazz musicians doing reinterpretations of American classics. My favorite example is The Sound of Music, Roger Hammerstein and Julie Andrews singing my favorite things. But Coltrane flipped that.
That's right.
Respect to the original. But when our brother from Philly, Coltrane did it, it was something else.
Yeah.
There's a plethora of American standards that great jazz musicians have. Miles with My Funny Valentine, go back to Oregon Best and the great album done by Ella Fitzgerald and Louis Armstrong. So, it's respectful, but using our experience as Black folks in this country, there's a different flavor, different sound, not to negate the original and respecting the original, but we flip it. And now's my approach for this film. In front of behind the camera, we're gonna flip this.
And flip it with some extraordinary talent. Jeffrey Wright is in this film. Also, A$AP Rocky, Denzel Washington. What was it like to work with, really 3 generations of extraordinary talent that are a part of this extraordinary remake or reimagining?
Oh, wait a minute! I was coming through the screen for a minute. Not a reinterpretation.
Reinterpretation.
My doctor friend.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Not all kidding aside, it's a blessing. And you see the generational thing with you got Jeffrey Wright, and then Jeffrey's son is in it, and then A$AP Rocky. So it's a coming together of generational of Black talent in front of the camera.
Yeah. What can we learn from these characters about Black men and how Black men of different generations are able to navigate the terrain, navigate some of the moral dilemmas that present themselves?
That's a great question. Denzel has a line in this film which is used on the poster. All money ain't good money. All money ain't good money. And the basis of what that Kurosawa did came from the book. This is a story about morality, ethics. And you have a great actor like Denzel Washington. And he does all this film, not this one, where whatever he's going through, the audience is in his shoes. And so you see the moral dilemma he's in, and he draws you in. So the audience, the people sitting, hopefully in the theaters and later at home, you are in the position of Denzel. So you've seen, what would I do if I was Denzel in that situation? And it is, depending upon you're going to have a different answer. Now, there are people who are morals, the scruples, not necessarily in politics today, but there are people who are going to do, to pat myself on the back, who are going to do the right thing. Anything for money. People put their mother on the corner to make some money. So it's interesting to not just me, to the audience, to come into this discussion, this film where morals, ethics, what's right, what's wrong. Also, what are the limits of what you'll do for money?
I mean, as I hear you lay that thing out so beautifully, I think about how the conversation from this film really offers a social commentary on this moment that we're living in, where we're all living in a moral dilemma. I mean, as we're doing this interview right now, I'm in Washington, D.C., where
are they out in the streets yet?
What's that?
Are the troops out in the street yet?
They are.
That's unbelievable that this president has brought out troops against the mayor, against our sister, against the people, Americans, and you know, shipping people out of the country, and this thing they built in Florida, which is inhuman.
Alligator Alcatraz.
And they're like they when they say that, they say it with happiness. We're in a very dangerous time here in the United States of America, and I say my prayers every night that God willing, we'll get out of this in some way of shuttle in some shape or form. And I'm gonna go to another thing, sir, my brother, if you'll let me.
Of course.
The other day, I saw a clip of my Jewish Brooklyn brother, Bernie Sanders, had a stack of paper. I don't know if you saw that.
Mm-mm.
And each paper was the name of a Palestinian child that was murdered, killed. And today's paper, I think it was the Times, you don't even see children around anymore. And another thing I like to say, there's been this, I don't know what the word is, polemic, where if you, as an individual, whoever you are, as you talk about the plight of Gaza in a humanitarian stance, then automatically it makes you anti-Semitic. It's not anti-Semitic. It's being the love of life. And these are innocent children. I don't know the exact number. It was 18,000 children have died. But I don't want to say died. I would say killed from starvation or weaponry. And my heart just breaks. I'm not anti-Semitic. I love humankind. And the fact these children never allowed to grow up to be adults, get married, have their own children, it's not gonna happen. No, so my heart is broken.
Yeah. Yeah. There are a lot of broken hearts out there. Spike, I started our conversation referencing your body of work. And as I've been thinking about this conversation we were going to have today, my mind kept coming back to Malcolm X, and one of the
Tricked,
marvelous
bamboozled,
right?
led astray.
So many, but the story of how Malcolm X got made, the fact that there were so many, Black folks inside and outside of Hollywood that reached into their pocket to help finance this film to get it made. Talk to us about what more you believe modern Hollywood, modern Black Hollywood can do to tell the stories that studios and streamers may be uninterested or unwilling to tell. What lessons can we glean from the making of Malcolm X that may illuminate how we move right now in this moment?
It's about coming together. The reason I had to reach out to prominent, wealthy African Americans because Warner Bros. Not this people now work, because this is back in the day. That regime, they wanted Malcolm X to be a length that was not what we wanted to tell. And I refused to do that. And so they gave the film over to the Bond company, and the Bond company sent off letters to everybody in post-production saying you're fired. And I had already put half my salary into the film, so I was stuck. It had to be the lowest point in my professional career. And doing the research for Malcolm, he always talked about self-reliance. self-dependence. And those two words, those two phrases kept coming to me. And I was at wit's end. And then it hit me like a punch from Muhammad Ali, the great. I know some famous rich black folks, and I got their number. So the plan was to call these individuals. And here's the thing, though. It was literally me having my hat in my hand. This is not buying ownership of the film. It cannot be used as a tax write-off. It was a gift. Just a gift. I made a list up. First one I called was Bill Cosby, Tracy Chapman, Prince, Janet Jackson, Peggy Cooper Capers, who's from late great Peggy, who's from DC. And every time I asked someone, really begged them for a donation, I would get it, and I ask more for the next call. So finally, it came down. I've told this story many times. I'm glad to tell it. Glad to tell it again. So the final two people were Magic Johnson and Michael Jordan. So Magic, my brother, beautiful brother, been great human being. And then so there's only one person on the list, Michael Jordan. And I know Mike a long time. I know how competitive he is. So I just let it slip how much Magic gave me. And Michael said, Magic gave what? Boom, I got you, Spike. And so with those funds, that's a Prince. I always forget one.
Prince, and then I think an Oprah.
Yeah, Oprah Winfrey.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm getting old, so sometimes we get a name, and I'm sorry when that happens. And with that money, I was able to, with those donations, I was able to hire my editors back to post-production, and there was no interaction between Warner Brothers and I, because the film was owned by the Bond Company. And at Malcolm's birthday at the Schomburg Library, 135th Street in Lenox in Harlem, we made the announcement that these prominent African Americans came through to keep the film going. And the next day, Warner Brothers took the film back from the Bond Company, and the rest is her history. The rest is history. So that's what happened.
Our thanks.
That can be used as an example for prominent, wealthy African Americans to get together, because it's been done. We did it. We could do that again.
We could do it again, and we shall do it again. My thanks to Spike Lee, the legendary Spike Lee. Be sure to go out and check out Highest to Lowest. It's his newest film with Denzel Washington, Jeffrey Wright, A$AP Rocky. We appreciate you for stopping by A More Perfect Union here on KBLA Talk 1580.
And last thing, I know we got to go, but peace and love to my folks in DC. Be strong. You're on the side of righteousness. You're on the side of righteousness. My sister, the man, be strong. Be strong. DC, come on, be strong. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. Take good care.
Yeah.
The audience is listening. Thought-provoking, eye-opening, heart-rendering. This is where authentic voices meet powerful discussions on culture, community, and change. This is where Black voices matter. He's breaking boundaries, amplifying diverse perspectives, and tackling the issues that matter most to you. You're inside A More Perfect Union with Dr. Nii-Quartelai on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. The MTA is holding public hearings this week on a proposed fare hike that would raise subway and bus rides to $3 in January in New York. The MTA board will vote this fall, while Black Mayor Eric Adams says fares are already too high. Los Angeles is honoring Nipsey Hussle by renaming the Hyde Park Metro station after him through the end of August in celebration of what would have been his 40th birthday. The city is also releasing 12,000 limited edition tap cards featuring the late rapper, giving fans another way to celebrate his legacy across LA. And Black Baltimore Mayor Brandon Scott is calling out racism after receiving a hateful voicemail message accusing him of running a criminal enterprise. Scott, one of several Black mayors facing such attacks, pushed back by pointing to historic drops in crime and stressing the need for smart, modern policies instead of outdated, tough-on-crime approaches. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Castaic on the 5 southbound coming up on the Whitaker brake check. Earlier crash. Right lane remains blocked off. Delays backing up from Pyramid Lake. It's tough on the 14 as well. You got slowing in stretches northbound from the 5 all the way to Sand Canyon Road. And it's a very slow drive into Corona. The 91 eastbound backing up from Kramer Glacel, which is not unusual. But there's a crash at Surface Club. It has the right mainline lane blocked along with the Surface Club off-ramp. And delays are backing up all the way from Kramer Glacel. If you needed to exit at Surface Club, hop off at Lincoln instead.
This season, San Diego is playing at home, and you are on the roster. Don't miss the Padres, Wave FC, San Diego FC, and the Blue Angels at the Miramar Air Show. Plan your trip now at sandiego.org/awesome all year. Funded in part with City of San Diego Tourism Marketing District Assessment Funds.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford made his practice debut Monday morning. The 37-year-old Stafford was unable to practice until Monday because of an aggravated disc in his lower back. Rams coach Sean McVay declined to say how much Stafford will practice the rest of the week. Stafford is still listed number 1 on the Rams depth chart for quarterbacks. McVay has yet to confirm that Stafford will start for the Rams in their season opener September 7th against Houston. If Stafford isn't ready, the Rams backup quarterbacks are Jimmy Garoppolo and Stetson Bennett. Auburn University announced plans Monday to retire the number 2 jersey of former NFL quarterback Cam Newton. Newton played at Auburn before his 12-year career in the NFL. Newton was NFL MVP in 2015 when he was with the Carolina Panthers. Newton's jersey will be retired on October 11th during halftime of Auburn's home game against Georgia. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Yeah, y'all, come on.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we fight the power every day.
Yeah,
Gotta give us what we want. Gotta give us what we need.
Hey.
I listen to KBLA and I love the commercials. I know what the commercials mean. I also, if I'm looking and trying to figure something out, I need something to talk to me that might hit me. And it happens on TV because, every time they show a sporting event, they got the pharmaceutical companies back to back telling people how to fix the sickness on the same stuff that they sell them. So we get it.
Yep, we get it too, Chuck D. And that's why at KBLA Talk 1580, we don't black down.
Drop it. Our freedom of speech is freedom of death. We got to fight the powers that be. Fight the power. Fight the power.
It's never too early to start talking about money in realistic ways with your kids. JP Morgan Chase navigates how to educate your kids now about creating long-lasting, healthy money habits. Whether your kids are in elementary school, high school, or college, now is a great time to start a conversation about ways to create healthy money habits as they grow, ultimately benefiting their financial future. Talking about money in a realistic way to support your kids' lifestyle and dreams, your first banking account geared towards high school or college. It's never too early. Explaining the basics, what you earn and what you spend, building financial confidence starts with getting organized. Learning and practicing vital money skills now will stay with them for life. Tools they will have to stay on top of their finances and achieve their goals. This segment is sponsored by JP Morgan Chase.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Los Angeles Regional Food Bank is on a mission to fight hunger and provide nutritious food to those in need across our community. They partner with federal, state, and local programs advocating for better policies and funding for critical hunger relief programs like Cal Fresh, the Emergency Food Assistance Program, and the Child and Adult Care Food Program. The food bank works with coalitions and local representatives to make sure hunger is addressed in every district of LA County. They also run nutrition education campaigns, raise hunger awareness, and source nutritious food for distribution, all while supporting regulations that allow food pantries to operate safely. Want to help? Visit lafoodbank.org or call 323-234-3030 to volunteer or find a food bank near you. Together, we can ensure that no one goes hungry in Los Angeles County. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. Hit me! National news of consequence, informed opinion, and analysis beyond the headlines. You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai, and have you all heard the hubbub on social media around Jillian Michaels' appearance on CNN with Abby Phillips? Everybody's talking about it. And if you hadn't heard about it, that's okay. I'm gonna get you in the know real quick. I'm gonna get you up to speed real quick. People magazine reporting that Jillian Michaels defends Donald Trump and white people during a heated debate about slavery. So this is what you need to know. Jillian Michaels, she appeared as a panelist on CNN's Newsnight with Abby Phillips this past Thursday, August 14th. The panel discussed President Trump's order for a review of the Smithsonian Institution's exhibits. And during the conversation, Jillian Michaels expressed her opinion about white people regarding slavery, race, and the exhibits. She doubled down on her thoughts on white people in a heated debate about race and the Smithsonian. The conversation began when the Biggest Loser trainer joined a panel. And what's important for you to know is that the Trump administration, they sent a letter. They sent a letter last week to the Smithsonian Institution Secretary Lonnie Bunch III, explaining that the goal of the internal review was to ensure that exhibits, quotes, celebrate American exceptionalism, remove divisive or partisan narratives, and restore confidence in our shared cultural institutions. That's what the White House put in a letter to Lonnie Bunch, the former head of the National Museum of African American History and Culture. Now he's the head of all Smithsonians. Jillian Michaels argued that Trump is, quotes, not whitewashing slavery. She says you cannot tie imperialism and racism and slavery to just one race, which is pretty much what every single museum exhibit does, end quote. That's what she said. After some of her panelists wanted to chime in, Jillian Michaels said, quote, do you realize that only less than 2% of white Americans own slaves? You realize that slavery is thousands of years old. That's what she said. Well, look, somebody had to take her to school. Somebody had to do it. And guess what? Today, Nikole Hannah-Jones, the creator of the 1619 Project, the founder of the Center for Journalism and Democracy at Howard University, guess what? She had time today. And it was so good that we have to share it with you live here on A More Perfect Union. Take a listen to what Nikole Hannah-Jones had to say in response to Jillian Michaels.
Hey, y'all. I do not usually do these videos.
Did you even know that you were disconnected?
No. Hey there. You're still listening to and streaming a more perfect union on KBLA Talk 1580. We had a little technical difficulty, but we are back. I wanted to make sure that you all had a chance to listen to what Nikole Hannah-Jones had to say in response to Jillian Michaels. Again, I was just sharing with you what Jillian Michaels had said on CNN, but take a listen to what Nikole Hannah-Jones had to say in response. Again, Nikole Hannah-Jones, the founder of the 1619 Project, the founder of the Center for Journalism and Democracy at Howard University. She had time. This is what she had to say.
But as a creator of the 1619 Project and someone who has studied the history of slavery for 3 decades, I could not let that viral CNN clip of Jillian Michaels stand. I have to first state that the times are far too serious and dangerous for us to lend our platforms to harmful nonsense. It's simply irresponsible with everything that's happening in this country to have someone as credentialless as Jillian Michaels on a major network show legitimizing the erasure of our history. Now, I know there have been some viral efforts to debunk her claim that somehow slavery was a side institution in the United States because less than 2% of white people own slaves. But even those efforts, while valiant, by embracing this right-wing framing, they still aren't really getting to it. You see, this is how numbers and data, though technically true, can also be lies. And this is why we can't let bad faith actors set the parameters of the debate or of our collective understanding. So please bear with me because this is a lot. Let's take the fewer than 2% of white people own slaves at face value, though we know that number is technically incorrect. And let's apply that standard to any other industry. What percentage of Americans own social media companies or technology companies such as Apple? It's a tiny percentage. I'm doubtful if it's even 1% of Americans. And yet no one would credibly argue that social media companies are not ubiquitous across American life, that they don't play a major influence on our political, social, and economic life in America. And in fact, what we know is that more than 70% of Americans use social media, though hardly any Americans own social media platforms. There's a reason that the heads of Meta, Apple, and Amazon, Google, and X all took part in Trump's inauguration festivities, with several of them standing on the actual dais during Trump's inauguration. These men also happen to be amongst the wealthiest in the world and demonstrate how a small cadre of super wealthy men can have an outsized impact on American politics and culture. This is just critical thinking, y'all. So if we want to play the numbers game, the much more important measure is what percentage of Americans own slaves? No, but what percentage of those empowered did? So here we go. Before 1865, the end of slavery in the United States, 63% of US presidents had been slave owners at some point in their lives. More than 1,800 members of Congress owned slaves, meaning between 1789 and 1819, more than half of the men elected to Congress each session were slave owners. What about the Supreme Court? 26 of this nation's first 30 Supreme Court justices were enslavers, and about half of all the Supreme Court justices before the Civil War were enslavers. So many Supreme Court justices were enslavers that if we added up all the Supreme Court justices coming all the way to this present court, 1 out of 4 of all Supreme Court justices in this nation's history were enslavers. I mean, let's just look at our money. All but one of the people on our cash currency engaged in African slavery. Look at the $1 bill, $2 bill, 10, 20, 50, 100. All these men engaged in slavery. It's weird that we didn't value all those non-slave holding white people enough to put them on our money. The majority of the most powerful men in this country, the men who made the federal laws, interpreted the laws, and enforced the laws, built their wealth on African slavery. And I assure you, that number says much more about the country we inhabit than that 2%. But let's not stop there, because even limiting the boundaries of the conversation to those who owned other human beings is highly misleading. Much like technology today, slavery in the United States was a national endeavor that undergirded not just our political system, but our entire economy. During the height of slavery, it was not the Northeast, Boston or New York, but the Mississippi River Valley in the Deep South that had more millionaires per capita than anywhere in the nation. And the Confederacy, had it succeeded at being a separate country, would have been the fourth richest nation in the world when the Civil War started. Enslaved people in the U.S. produced 7/8 of the world's cotton supply, and slave-grown cotton constituted 50% of all U.S. exports, making it the #1 export in America. And the North was completely intertwined with slavery, so much so that at the start of the Civil War, New York City actually considered seceding from the Union because the economy of the nation's trade capital was so heavily reliant on slavery. White enslavers financed their operations through New York banks, protected their enslaved property through New York insurance companies, and transported their slave-grown cotton on New York ships, flooding $200 million into New York's economy every year. Enslaved people built the famous wall that Wall Street is named after. Famous companies such as Lehman Brothers are rooted in slavery. The Lehman Brothers began as cotton brokers in Alabama before moving to New York to help establish the New York Stock Exchange. Brooks Brothers made not only fine suits, but slave cloth outfits to clothe the enslaved. Domino Sugar dominated based on slave-grown sugar. As a result, by some estimates, New York received 40% of all U.S. cotton revenue. They didn't have to own the slaves to profit greatly from slavery. Northern states may have outlawed slavery, but they continued to profit off of slavery and the slave trade. We learn about the marvels of the Industrial Revolution, but that revolution was made possible not just by technology, but by cheap slave-grown cotton. Rhode Island.
You can see that Nikole Hannah-Jones is still going, and I, for one, would love to see Jillian Michaels and Nikole Hannah-Jones in a live conversation someplace. Maybe right here on A More Perfect Union. And so let them know they have an open invitation to join us live to be in conversation about this, because the idea of folks not knowing the truth, skirting around the truth, manipulating the truth, it's so much more interesting when we tell the truth. Don't you think? You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580, the quiet part out loud when we come forward.
Striving to make America a nation as good as its promise. This is A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
During this time, it's important for everyone to know your rights. The 4th, 5th, and 6th Amendments in the U.S. Constitution protects every one of us, regardless of immigration status. The 4th Amendment requires a judicial warrant to search your home. The 5th protects your right to remain silent. And the 6th gives you the right to an attorney. Just remember.
No warrant, no key. My privacy. You don't have to speak. No lawyer inside. Don't say your thing. Yeah, we all got rights.
Hey, we all got rights.
Thinking about going electric? Now is the perfect time. Electric vehicles cost less to run, don't need gas, and need fewer repairs than gas-powered cars. You can also save with federal and state tax credits, and in some areas, qualify for rebates on home charging stations. To learn more, visit www.breathesocal.org. That's www.breathesocal.org.
Become a U.S. citizen with the help of the Los Angeles Public Library. Get free and confidential information on immigration and citizenship. Visit lapl.org/NAI to find your nearest library or call us at 213-228-7390. That's lapl.org/NAI or 213-228-7390 and start your path to becoming a U.S. citizen with the help of the Los Angeles Public Library. Call 213-228-7390 or visit lapl.org/NAI.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Autopsy Initiative provides a second autopsy free of charge for victims' families who have lost their loved ones due to a police-related death. The services offered through the initiative include the completion of a second autopsy, disclosure of preliminary findings, and a final autopsy report. A police-related death is when an individual is harmed by police officers using deadly force, which results in an individual's death. Police-related death includes in-custody deaths, including those that arise during contact with law enforcement officers during arrest, pursuit, booking, transport, or incarceration. The Autopsy Initiative has a team of board-certified pathologists on call. An autopsy request may be completed by anyone with a close relationship with the victim, which may include the victim's spouse, partner, relative, close friend, or lawyer. To request a free second autopsy for a victim of police violence, please visit knowyourrightscamp.com. That's knowyourrightscamp.com. Then click on Autopsy, then click on Request. At KBLA, we believe in justice for victims of police violence. We say their names, and we don't black down. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Notable journalists, industry leaders, lawmakers, change makers, tastemakers, and you, working to build a more perfect union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. You all certainly heard me talk a lot over the past several weeks about the IRS, their attempt to change policy to say that it's all right for churches to endorse political candidates. This flies in the face of what has been the rules of the road for some decades now. And NEW Source, they're a nonprofit, nonpartisan newsroom dedicated to improving lives in the San Diego region. They recently reported on a proposed IRS settlement that could let churches endorse candidates. And they really delved into what that means for San Diego, the region of San Diego. Again, the IRS has opened the door for church leaders to endorse political candidates from the pulpit, leaving nonprofits and religious leaders wondering what it's going to mean for the future of the sector and where the IRS will draw the line. The federal tax agency said in a legal filing that it does believe that it should be enforcing a 70-year-old tax code prohibiting nonprofits from endorsing candidates and interfering in elections against houses of worship when they're doing so in normal communications channels through lenses of faith. Now, the statement was sent to a federal judge in Texas. It's important to note. Here's Texas again. Statement was sent to this federal judge in Texas as a proposed agreement to settle a lawsuit brought against the IRS by two churches, a Christian advocacy nonprofit and the National Religious Broadcasters. Now, the plaintiffs, they argue that the government cannot restrict church speech under the First Amendment, asserting that endorsements made during religious services are protected religious expression. While nonprofits have always been able to discuss issues, they have been prohibited from endorsing candidates under a federal tax law known as the Johnson Amendment. So the judge is yet to rule out the settlement agreement, but experts say that even if it's not accepted, it sends a signal to churches that the IRS enforcement of the prohibition of some political activity is unlikely. And so what does this mean for San Diego County, you might be wondering? Well, San Diego County residents, they represent a range of religious affiliations. About half say that they're Christian. Another 40% are unaffiliated. The largest Christian denomination in San Diego is Catholic, followed by evangelical and mainline Protestant churches. And one of the comms directors for the San Diego Catholic Diocese said that the ruling means virtually nothing for San Diego Catholics and that the church wouldn't be making any changes, noting that, quote, there's nothing in Catholic teaching that is distinctly Democratic or Republican. For the most part, churches don't want to reduce themselves to politics. They're supposed to have their eye on bigger issues than that. All right, so if we take that at face value, this is what I'm wondering. If the Catholic Church says, even if the rules change, we're not endorsing candidates. Well, if the evangelical churches say, well, we are, and if other houses of worship say that they are, then does that create a fundamental disadvantage to some churches and a fundamental advantage to other churches when it comes to just informing people about who's who and what's what? So mark my words, this question around the role of churches in elections, it's not going away. In fact, it may be here to stay. You're listening to and streaming a More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. That's all we got for today. Our thanks to our entire team that helps to pull the show together. Our executive producer, Tavis Smiley. Our sound engineer, Brother Andy. Our show producers, Faraji and Art and Journey, and of course, each and every one of you, all of our leaders, learners, and listeners. We curate the show every day with you in mind. Remember, don't panic. Don't you do it. Organize. Do what you can from where you are with what you have. But by all means, do something. You've been listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.